Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I figured that since I'm paying off my car loan now, or that is my goal as of right now, then I would talk about my experience with leasing a car and share with you the pros and cons that I experienced. I got my very first car when I was 17. My dad actually gave it to me. It was paid off and it was just a Toyota Camry. I believe it was in 1999 or 98. I can't remember, but very common car, and I still see them on the road to this day. By the time I turned 21, 22, the car had well over 250,000 miles, and I was commuting a long way to go to school, over 25 miles each way. And so I was nervous that the car would, something would happen to the car. I was having to replace a lot of things and spend quite a bit of money on the car anyway. And so I knew I was due to get a different car. The car, I believe, is still working to this day. I probably could have drove it for several years. I'm not sure who has it now, but I think we gave it to a family friend or something. But Toyota Camrys are great cars, but it was also a pride thing for me too, because I was a little bit embarrassed of how it looked. I was a little bit embarrassed of how the door squeaked when I opened it really loudly. And also I couldn't put the windows up. If I put the windows down, then it would take me like 10 minutes to get them all the way back up, because it would just get stuck. And then you just have to wait a little bit, put it up, or you'd have to manually try and put your windows up, which is not ideal when you're in the rain or something like that. But in 2015, I went to Toyota to look at cars, and I was actually trying to purchase a car, but the monthly payments were too high. I was trying to purchase a new 2015 Toyota Camry. Did I have to do that? No, of course not. I could have bought a used car. I've learned my lesson now, but I was with my dad and I felt that's what I was supposed to be doing. My dad is an extreme negotiator and haggler, and so we could not get the price low enough to a point where I could afford the monthly payments and car insurance and all the other fees that come with a car. So we asked about leasing, and we were able to negotiate this down to $200 a month for a 3-year lease and $2,000 down. So brand new 2015 Toyota Camry in Ruby Flare, which is just their red color, and $200 a month. So that is what I had for 3 years. I absolutely loved that car. Still love that car. I actually still have the same car, just in a different color. So I'll get to that in a bit. But I guess I wanted to talk about the good things of leasing a car real quick, because for me, I really liked the lower monthly payment. Now, obviously it's going to cost you more money in the long run, which I'll talk about more in a bit. But at the time that I was able to afford $200 a month, and I was driving a brand new car. So it was nice for me. I also wasn't sure what my plans were after the 3 years, so it just worked at that time for me to lease the car for 3 years and figure things out later. The other good thing about leasing a car is that all of your services are paid for. If there's any problem with the car, they will pay for it. If you have to get oil changes, they will pay for it, which you have to go regularly, every 5,000 miles or so. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's a typical breakdown of when you're supposed to get your car serviced. But I did not pay for any of that. I would just go in when I needed to, sit in the nice waiting room, get my free coffee, and I'd be done. So for 3 years, I did not pay any service fees. The most obvious pro of leasing a car is that you constantly have a new car, and which is nice because it looks nice, it smells nice, it feels nice. You get all the new technology and all the new updates, which are typically nice. Typically, the newer model of a car, they change a few things about the outside of the car every 3 years. So depending on when you lease it, the next time, if you were to continue leasing, the next time you were to lease it, you were probably going to be getting a newer, nicer version of that same car if you go with the same model. The main cons that I experienced, there are probably way more cons to leasing a car than I experienced. You can Google these if you're trying to figure out if you want to lease a car or not. I'll give my final opinion at the end, but if you are looking for more problems that could happen with leasing a car, then definitely look more into that. But with my experience, I narrowed it down to 3 main cons. The first one being the cost. And so in general, if you're going to choose to lease a car over and over again, you're obviously going to be paying more. And I know for myself that leasing the car did cost me a lot of money in the long run. So let me break this down. So my monthly payment was $200 and I had to pay that for 3 years. So that is $7,200 for 3 years total. And keep in mind, this is just a 2015 Toyota Camry, so nothing spectacular. I did get the Sport Edition, not the basic edition. So it had, you know, nicer rims and some nicer cuts and things like that, but nothing extravagant. I also put a $2,000 down payment when I leased the car. So that's an additional cost. And then when I went to buy out the lease, I actually learned that you cannot negotiate that price. So after you pay your lease for 3 years, whatever price is left on the car, whatever cost you have left, you have to pay that. You can't negotiate it down. We tried multiple times, they would not budge. So the only other option was to purchase a used car, and we were able to negotiate that price down. To me, it's really strange. I'm not sure why that is. I'm sure somebody who works at the dealership will know that, but I just know that at the end of the lease, if you want to buy your car out, you have to pay whatever is left on the car. At least that's the way it was at Toyota. And so what I had left was, I think, over $19,000, which was a pretty high amount, and my monthly payment would have been pretty high as well. That was my plan by the end of the 3 years. I just wanted to purchase a car. I didn't want to keep leasing because I did start this debt-free journey, and I realized that leasing a car is not very cost savvy. So what we did instead was purchase a used Toyota Camry, same exact model, same year. Everything was the same except it was not my car, and I just got a white color instead of my red, which I do miss the red, to be honest. But that was able to save me, I don't know, maybe $2,000. I can't remember the exact cost. I actually was just looking at the paperwork, but I think some of it was a little bit different than what is actually on the paperwork. But I believe it cost me about $18,000 or $17,000 something instead of the like $19,500 that was left. So that was a little bit of a savings right there. But still, all of that, the $7,200, the $2,000 down payment, the $18,000 is $27,200. The other thing is that there are fees associated with turning your leased car in. So you wouldn't have to deal with this if you keep that car, the car that you were leasing, but like I just said, I did not do that. So when I turned it back in to the dealer, they take a look at everything, they take photos of everything, and they charge you for wear and tear. And so for me, the wear and tear cost $320, and it was mostly just like nicks and bumps here on the rims or on the outside of the car. I don't know. There was also a disposition fee of $350, which is when you just turn the car in, and they typically would waive this if you're going with the same loan provider. But at the time, my credit was actually pretty bad because of the whole situation with my ex and co-signing on his car. So I was not able to get approved with the same loan provider. So because of that, I also had to pay a $350 disposition fee. So $670 total dollars on fees. And that brings my total for a 2015 Toyota Camry, because that is still what I'm driving, to about $28,000, which is a lot in my opinion. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. I can't remember the exact numbers, but we're talking about, $26,000 to $28,000-ish for a Toyota Camry. I did also refinance my car about a year later, about a year after purchasing it, and that increased my monthly payment but lowered my interest rate and shortened the loan term. And this should have saved me money. I believe it saved me a couple thousand, but that is beside the point. So my credit did improve within the year, so I was able to refinance it just in my name. because when I bought the car, it was still with my dad's name as well. But still, you know, $26,000 is a lot for a Camry, in my opinion. I wouldn't choose to purchase a car for $26,000 now. So of course, that is the main con. The second con, if you continue to lease, you will always have a monthly payment. Granted, it typically is lower. Mine was only $200 a month. But if you keep on leasing, you are always going to have a monthly payment rather than, you know, putting that toward investments or anything else like that. Maybe worth it to some people, I don't know. The final con that I experienced is limited mileage, mostly because I was commuting so far for college, and then I was commuting a lot for work. It was just toward the end of my lease that I was commuting pretty far for work, but I was nervous that I would have to pay extra for the mileage. I did not have to, luckily. I think in a typical lease, they give you $12,000 per year, but I want to say that I had $15,000 per year. I think that was part of my contract as well, that I was able to get more mileage negotiated in there. And I think that is what helped me not have to pay any fees. But typically if you go over the mileage, you have to pay a certain amount per mile over, which can really add up depending on how much you go over. So that's a big one for a lot of people. If you're going to take any sort of road trip, you probably can't take your car. If you're going to be commuting to your job every day, you may get over that number, and obviously that wouldn't be ideal. I'm pretty sure though if you were to buy out the car, you would not have to pay those fees, but I don't know. Honestly, I would say leasing is not the worst thing in the world. I know a lot of people don't agree with that statement, but at the time, at 21, 22 years old, that is what worked best for me. I was able to afford a new car that I felt safe in and that I truly loved. I know I did not need to buy a brand new car. I could have purchased a used, older Camry. However, that was also the year where Camry switched from like this grandma looking car to this more sportsy car. So I am glad with the choice that I went with. Yes, it's a lot of money, but we're taking care of it. It's all gonna be paid off. From this, I have realized I probably would not lease again. And I know that in the future, I will definitely save up and pay for a used car in full. I apologize if this video was a little all over the place. I kind of just wanted to touch on things in order, but I will put a list of the pros and cons down below in the description box to make things more simple for you. Comment down below if you have ever leased a car, or if you're currently leasing, or how you feel about leasing a car in general. I'd love to hear everybody's opinions, but I am super excited to just get my car paid off sooner rather than later. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.